Hello, today I'm looking at a Tommy Original Series liftgate, and I'm going to be going over the common maintenance that is needed on this lift. A Tommy Original Series liftgate can be identified by the steel cables that are used to lifting the platform up. That's what makes it a Tommy Original Series. The Tommy G2 series does not have those steel cables, and has hydraulics that pick up the platform. So the first thing I want to do when I'm performing maintenance on the lift is to check the steel cables. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my lift gate on. I'm going to hold the down button and pull the cable out at the same time. As you can see, I also just collapsed the cylinder, so I got plenty of slack on my cable. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to feel underneath the cable and feel it for any frays. Now I'm going to do that on both sides because it's two different cables. The most likely wear point is where the cable goes over the pulley, but you can also have wear on the cables inside the box, and so you want to double check and make sure those cables are good. Now I'm going to tighten up the cables real quick. I'm also going to check my cables and make sure they're ran correctly. You can see it's starting right here. I have 2 clamps on each cable. Next, I want to make sure my cable is running underneath my hydraulic hose, so I'm not clipping my hose. I'm coming under the pulley, and I notice my cables aren't crossed, so I'm checking to make sure they're going underneath this pulley correctly. And then my long cable going from the pulley over that pulley to underneath this pulley, then it goes up, around, and makes the connection there. So my cables on this lift gate look really good. Next thing I want to do is I want to check my arm pins. Nice handy trick I do to check my arm pins is I get a piece of chalk and I make a line on the pin and a line right here, and I do it on the other pins, and down here also. Okay, what I'm looking for is on the back side of this pin. You see there's a weld here. That pin is welded in, so that pin should not move. And that's the same on both sides of the lift. So you got the pins on the platform side, and then you got the pins on the lift side, on both the left and right side, passenger and driver side of the lift. Now those are welded in and they should not be moved. I'm hitting the up button, and I see my pin's not moving. Neither one of my pins is moving, and the pins over on this side aren't moving either. They're all welded into place, and that's exactly the way they should be. Common thing on these lifts, especially older ones that are over 10 years old, is people never grease them. So these pins lock up, and once they start locking up, they start to oblong the hole, and that's what drives the lift going to the junkyard. Is that once those holes start being widened, the platform gets really loose, and the lift is pretty much, it's done. It's time to get a replacement. So what you should do after you make sure that all your pins are good and they're not turning is I'm gonna get my grease gun, just a standard grease gun, and what I want to do is I want to grease my arm pins. And you can see into here you see there's a Zerk fitting, kind of hard. See the Zerk fitting, you got Zerk fittings on the top, on the lift side, on both arms. And then if you come over here, on the platform side, the Zerk fittings are underneath. So you gotta come out at the bottom angle, on top and bottom, to grease these arm fittings. That's the number one thing to do if you want to make this lift gate last 15 to 20 years. If you do that, this lift gate's gonna have a nice long life. Next thing I want to do is I'm gonna check inside my lift motor box. I got my motor box cover already off. And I'm looking in here to make sure it's nice and clean. Doesn't have to be clean enough to eat food, store food in here. But what I want to make sure is, especially the drain hole down here, especially this drain hole, want to make sure those drain holes are free and open. I don't have any leaves in here or anything that's going to clog it up. Because if those drain holes get clogged, what's going to happen when it rains is this box is going to fill up, and that motor, which is a very expensive motor, is going to be pretty much sitting in a swamp. After I check all that out in the back, the last thing I want to do is I want to go up to my front, check my battery. Want to make sure my battery electrical connections are nice and clean, free of corrosion. I have a circuit breaker right here that is included with the Tommy gate. Make sure that's good. Make sure I'm nice and my connections are tight there. And I also want to check all my bolts on my lift. I want to make sure these are all tight on both sides. And I'm even gonna go underneath, check my connection to the frame. Okay. You can barely see it right here, but you can see I have a nice angle that's connecting the frame of my truck to the frame of the lift gate. That is super important. Whenever I get a truck in my shop and I see that it's missing that, I know the lift was not professionally installed. You always want to check to make sure you got a good solid connection between the frame of your lift gate to the frame of your truck. What's going to happen if you don't have that, if you ever get in a car accident, your truck bed's going to be destroyed. So those are the simple maintenance things that I would like to check on when I'm working on a Tommy gate. Hopefully this helps you out. Maintain the gate, and this gate will last you a good 20 to 15 years. Thank you and have a wonderful day.